you currently have a goal to lose weight for good, today I'm going to share with you some of the key methods from this book here, Atomic Habits by James Clear, and how they can help you transform your habits so you can not just lose weight, but also keep it off for good. One thing from the book that's really interesting to note is how James breaks down goal setting. This is really important when we're looking at goal setting for losing weight specifically, because so many of us set these goals, some of which we do achieve, but many of which we don't. In the book, he outlines 3 layers of behavior change. The first level is our outcomes. These habits relate to us achieving a specific goal, such as wanting to lose 5 kilos or running your first marathon. With an outcome goal, there's usually some type of outcome that we want to achieve by a specific date. The next layer is processes. These habits focus on the processes it takes to achieve some kind of outcome goal. For example, sticking to a diet, or having to engage in an exercise program, or the specific training program that you're following in order to run your marathon. The third layer is identity. These habits come from a place where your identity is tied to you engaging in these habits or actions. Your identity is really the beliefs that you hold and the values that are important to you. It's essentially the type of person that you think you are. An example of an identity shift is something like, I'm becoming a runner. The identity that you're shifting is that you are a runner. Once this identity shift has been made, then you're more likely to engage in actions that someone else who is a runner would do. This can also work against you as well. The stories you tell yourself and the way that you speak to yourself can also greatly influence what you believe about yourself. If you tell yourself stories like, losing weight is so hard for me, or I can never stick to anything, then you're going to start acting in accordance with those identities, which is not really what you want. This is why changing your identity and making small shifts is really, really powerful, especially if you want your changes to be permanent. Your identity is also created through your experiences and your habits. You need to have evidence to help you believe that you are who you think you are. For example, in the book, James Clear says that if you attend church every Sunday for 20 years, you have evidence that you're religious. This is really helpful to note, especially when it comes to weight loss, because so many of us have all this evidence of times when things didn't work for us or when we didn't stick to things. So it's really important when we start implementing all of these new habits that the habits are able to scale up or scale down so that you're able to consistently achieve success and therefore have that consistent evidence that you're becoming the new version of you. If you then have this consistent evidence of you achieving these small wins every day, you're going to have a much greater chance of actually believing your new identity. This means it's much more likely to stick and you're more likely to get those results that you're looking for, simply because that's just who you are now. In our coaching practice, we often help clients shift their identity in order to build new habits that last. Most people know how to set a simple weight loss goal, like I want to lose 5 kilos or I want to lose 10 kilos. They might set a date when they want to achieve this weight loss goal and then work backwards from that date in order to figure out what they need to do to reach that goal. Most people at one point or another have also tried many diets or challenges that get you sticking to a specific exercise plan. The problem is that none of these actions become true habits. And because of this, the results don't stick around for very long after the challenge ends. So if we use James's model and we're using an identity-based approach, the goal is not to just simply lose weight, but the goal is to become a person who is naturally able to maintain their weight. We approach it like this in our own coaching programs because most of the clients who work with us, they want to solve this problem for good. They don't just want to jump on another diet or a challenge where they lose a bit of weight but then don't know how to maintain it and end up gaining it back again. When you shift your identity towards becoming the type of person who can naturally maintain their weight for life, you will also start to take actions on a daily basis that work in accordance with this new identity. These daily actions that you're taking in accordance with your identity might be things like how you're eating your food, whether you're overeating or not, and also learning when you're physically hungry. So now let's look at how habits are formed. In the book Atomic Habits, James breaks down 4 parts to the creation of a new habit. There's the cue, which is the initial signal to start a behavior, the craving, which is the initial motivation or desire to perform the new action or behavior, the response, which is the action that you take, whether it's positive or negative, and the reward. And the instant reward is often the relief that you get from the craving. For example, the relief that you feel after you eat a donut when you are craving one. We've further adapted this model into something that we use with our own clients. We call our model the loop because it works essentially like a feedback loop. There are 3 parts to the loop. The first part is the thoughts, and the thoughts are essentially what thoughts are occupying your mind at the time. Next is the feelings, and the feelings or the emotions are created by the thoughts. This is also powerful to note because it's going to influence the next stage of the loop, which is our actions. And our actions are the action we take or the behavior that we engage in as a response to our feelings and our thoughts. We use this version because it simplifies the process and puts an emphasis onto the things that we have control over, which are our thoughts and the actions that we take. The key to managing a lot of eating behaviors is to start with the thoughts that you're thinking in the moment. Being able to change and shift your thoughts can start to influence the way that you feel, which then influences the actions that you take, which over time will influence the results that you get. It puts you in the driver's seat instead of feeling like your cravings and your impulses have control over you. The same way this model can be used to create new positive habits in your life, it can also be used with some slight adjustments to break those bad habits. In the book, James outlines how the 4 steps to create habits can also be shifted slightly in order to start breaking bad habits. The first step is the cue. So what we would do here is reduce our exposure to the cue and maybe even remove the cue from our environment if that's something we have control over. The next part is the craving. In order to reduce the craving, what we can do is start to work on changing our mindset and highlighting the benefits of avoiding the bad habit. This is similar to the first step of the loop, where we're looking at changing our thoughts in order to then influence our feelings and behavior. The next step is looking at the response. And what you can do here is increase the friction and actually make it harder for you to perform that bad habit. And the last part is the reward. Here we want to look at how can we make it unappealing? How could we get an accountability buddy? Or could we make the consequences costly and public? You can also use our adapted loop method in order to change a bad habit. So we start with the thoughts. Identify the current thoughts that you're having that are leading to you engaging in the bad habit. And from there you can create a pivot plan or a thought reframe. This is where we look at what new thoughts might be helpful or what new thoughts would help us act in the ways that we want to act. Remember, we're looking for something that's going to align with the new identity that we want to create, as well as something that we can believe in the moment. Next, we look at our feelings. So we want to recognize our current feelings and understand that if we're feeling bad or if we have some negative feelings, feelings always pass. We don't have to react to the way that we're feeling immediately. We can simply acknowledge our feelings, sit with that discomfort for a little bit, and then the feeling will often pass. And the last thing we want to look at is our actions. We can start to become aware of our automatic actions when certain situations come up, and then think about ways in which we could act differently in ways that serve us better. For example, instead of choosing to eat some biscuits when you get home from work after a long and stressful day, we could choose to drink a glass of water or go for a 5-minute walk to clear our head. Essentially what we want to do is think about, what do I really need in the moment if it wasn't food? Because the answer is never food unless the problem is physical hunger. So if you're trying to lose weight and become the type of person who's naturally able to manage their weight for good, what habits should you focus on? What we want to focus on is habits that we can implement in almost every situation and habits that we have complete control over. Most people will jump straight to what type of food they're eating, but that's when we run into trouble, because what do we do when we start craving the very foods that we're avoiding? This approach is often unhelpful because it makes us rely on willpower alone. If losing weight and keeping it off is a goal of yours, then here's 3 habits to focus on. The first one is eating slowly. Eating slowly is the first step that we introduce with our coaching clients. Eating slowly gives our conscious brain time to recognize what we're doing, so we have more of a chance to make those decisions that serve us better. Not to mention, eating slowly and mindfully also fosters a much more positive relationship with food overall. Eating slowly helps us enjoy our food more, and it also helps improve our digestion. And one of the ways that eating slowly helps us avoid overeating is because it helps us recognize when we're feeling physically full and we've had enough to eat. The second habit is hunger awareness. The amount of food is the thing that has the biggest impact on whether we lose weight or not. And the great thing is, our bodies naturally regulate this by sending us hunger cues that tells us when we should start eating and when we've had enough and we should stop eating. It's really important to recognize the difference between when we feel physically hungry and when we just want food, but we're not physically hungry. We do a lot of work with our clients around how to actually start implementing this habit, because it's one of those habits that a lot of us have forgotten how to do, or we were never taught how to do in the first place. Recognizing hunger cues helps them then start to regulate how much they're eating without having to change what they're eating. So they never have to feel deprived of foods they like, and they never have to miss out on having meals out with friends. You can still enjoy all types of food when you're losing weight, but aim to learn how to listen to those physical hunger cues as the signal to start and stop eating. The third habit that's going to be really helpful for long-term weight loss is exercise. Regular movement is not only great to help with your weight loss efforts, but it's also fantastic to help keep your energy levels in check and also give you sort of a clear head and help with your focus during the day. When we don't get enough activity, we often start to feel really sluggish, and this can often lead us to overeat more often, which of course is not very helpful when we have a weight loss goal. Exercise is fantastic for our mental health, and it's also really helpful for keeping our energy levels high during the day. We always encourage our clients to start walking more, even if it's just an extra 5 minutes if they're not already doing so. Walking can really help with consistently building up movement without actually doing full workouts, which can lead to a lot of muscle aches and pains. And when clients are just starting out with exercise, if they're feeling really sore after a workout, that can often lead to them then moving less, which is not what we want. So walking is often a really low barrier to entry and a really great thing to start doing regularly, especially if you're not doing any other type of movement. Like most things though, we stress that exercise and movement doesn't have to be something that you spend hours of your day doing, and you certainly don't have to do it at a super high intensity all the time. Start with where you're at and start implementing those small, doable actions consistently. So if you have a weight loss goal and you'd like to learn more about the specific habits that are going to help you not just lose weight but also keep it off for good, make sure you check out our free 5-part email series where I share with you the 5 biggest mistakes that I personally made on my own weight loss journey, and I see so many people still making these mistakes today. I also share with you how I overcame each of those mistakes to get the results that I really wanted. You can find the link below in the video description to sign up for that email series for free. So that's it for this video today. I really hope this was helpful. If you enjoyed this video, you might also like this video here, which others have also found helpful. If you did like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to see more videos like this one in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.